This is Drop and Drop Out, the weekly podcast where a mix of gamers come together to talk all about video games. I'm your host Patrick. Joining me this week, my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, how you doing?
Patrick, I'm doing wonderful, Pat. I'm doing so well, in fact,
Yeah,
you don't even want to know how good I'm doing.
I think maybe I don't want to know. I'm
Oh,
scared
that's a
now.
joke. My mental health is absolutely fucked.
Let's go.
Please it.
Well, we have an exciting episode here today, right here on youtube.com/at drop in dropout pod. We got advanced review copy of Dispatch from the homies over at AdHoc, their PR team, and we've been playing it. We played the first 4 episodes of the 8 episode release of Dispatch, and we're going to be reviewing episodes 1 and 2 in this podcast. And starting next Wednesday, so today is Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, we will have a review for episodes 3 and 4, and so on and so forth for the next few weeks. So it's going to be me and the dumpster boy talking about Dispatch. I am very excited. Again, thank you to the folks over there for giving us this opportunity. And unfortunately, this one won't be live because it can't be, because we have to record this ahead of embargo. But as a quick plug, twitch.tv/JK Games Podcast, Monday nights starting next week are going to have a full spoiler conversation. So they're also part of the Drop and Drop Out family. So if that sounds like something you want to get a part of, maybe me and Cayman can squeeze our way in one week. Otherwise, I think we plan on doing hopefully a big round table at the end once all the episodes are out between everybody. And then also one other really quick piece of housekeeping before we jump into the show came in. Tomorrow
Mhm.
night, as of release, so Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/drop-in-dropout-pod, streaming the first
Oh.
2 episodes of Dispatch. And I want you, the audience, to make the decisions for me. If you don't know what Dispatch is, we can kind of use this to get into the game. If you don't know Dispatch, it is a spiritual successor of sorts to the old Telltale games. And by the old Telltale games, I mean like 2010s, like The Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us. The folks at AdHoc Studio, a lot of them are former Telltale devs. And they were on record kind of as they were announcing this game as like, this is what we kind of always dreamed that we could do with a Telltale game. And we have a new whole system now, and they fucking did it. Came in. But so let's jump into some overall thoughts of Dispatch. We can talk about the first 4 episodes at a very high level, but only specific details about episodes 1 and 2. So, Cayman, give me your thoughts. Give me a review score if you got it. How did you feel about Dispatch?
Um, so I think I am very scared to say too much about episodes 3 and 4. But what I can tell you is, I definitely think that this game starts on a really, really, really positive note. I think episodes 1 and 2 are really good at setting the foundation and setting in place like a lot of fun little moments along the way. And I think that it also does a good job of like setting the foundation
Yeah.
of what's to come. 3 and 4 obviously don't, like I said, can't say too much, but I think that those also carry this forward in a great way. So I think first half game, high overview, feel very good about it. Can't wait to talk more later on the future episodes about what I think about those episodes. But for 1 and 2 specifically, I think it does a really good job of being able to kind of get you started by setting you up with like the mechanics early on. I think it shows you. I wish maybe they were a little bit more of the actual gameplay mechanic of like what the actual like bones of the game are. I know it's all choice driven, but there are no like quick time events in this game, which Telltale is mainly what of. There is an actual gameplay mechanic here that is new, and so I wanted to. I can't wait to talk more
Yeah.
about that with you. But I just kind of wish overall feelings right now, just with episodes 1 and 2 specifically. I just wish we had more of it.
Sure.
You only get a little bit of that. You only get a very small portion to kind of introduce you tutorial style in episode 1. Episode 2, you get much more of that. But I do think there's an addictive gameplay
Yeah.
loop with that I don't feel like they're kind of capitalizing yet. I could change, but that's kind of where I stand. But I do think starting off, I think people are going to be really impressed with this. This is this is probably the best I think Telltale's been since maybe probably like, well, not that there were many games after Wolf Among Us, but
Sure.
I think starting off like that quick, and I think that this is probably the closest in terms of like the maturity to it.
Yeah.
I think is very much there. This is a very different type of game. Man, I just can't wait to talk more. But what about you? How do you feel about
Yeah.
those first few episodes?
I am stun locked at how impressed I am with Dispatch. A very quick correction. There is that one scene at the beginning that is the quick time event, but it is the only one. There hasn't been
Oh,
another one.
fair.
But by and large, this game is dialogue options, and then the actual, like when you are dispatching your superhero squad,
Right.
it's this fun, like it is what it sounds like. You're in a dispatch booth basically, and you have your team to choose from, and you'll get like crimes to come in over the intercom type situation, and or in your like computer screen, and you have to pick and choose who's the right hero for the job based on their stats, things like intellect and strength and vigor and this kind of stuff. And then they'll run into obstacles, they'll run into, maybe they'll spat with each other or things like that, where it's like a puzzle game in a way,
Mhm.
mixed, but they do this really cool thing about bringing in the story like around every turn. And I think that is the thing. I think I won't be surprised if by the end of episode 8, I know this isn't a Telltale game, this is an AdHoc Studio game, but it very much has the bones. It has former Telltale folks. So if we say like Telltale game, we of course are meaning like the spirit of. I think this could easily be the best one ever based on my experience with the first 4 episodes. It's been years. Like a couple years ago from Telltale, I played the Expanse, and like I liked it, but
Mhm.
there were still things about it that it just felt a bit stuck in the past. And I think
Right.
Dispatch is doing such a good job in these first 4 episodes of carving a new voice with this, both with like the content of the story and then also with the gameplay of being this superhero dispatcher. And I don't necessarily want to give it a score yet. If I were just to score episodes 1 and 2, I would probably give them like a very strong 8.5, because as you said, it's very
Yeah.
much, it's setting the ground floor for what's to come. It's introducing us to the world, to the characters, to dispatching, all this kind of stuff. And then, yeah, next week we'll get into. I think we'll have a lot more to say with next week, talking about episodes 3 and 4 about like the story, because the first 2 very much are just setting the stage. But man, I'm so impressed. It's been so long since I've had, really honestly, probably since The Wolf Among Us, where I've had that like, okay, I hit credits, run it back. I want to see what those other choices do. I
Right.
want to see where else I can go with these choices, because it has the blonde blazer will remember this in the top corner, which is very Telltale. And it just, with how much that they have crafted such an interesting world and such interesting characters, I cannot wait to see where this story goes. Cayman, going
Yes.
into Dispatch, was this like on your radar in terms of like, seeing the trailers, like, oh, this looks good, but I wasn't expecting like a game of the year conversation type thing.
Right.
Where was your head at going into Dispatch?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I coming into it, I remember like watching the trailer and was like, "Oh, that looks cool." Like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's gonna be one of these like choice-driven games." Wasn't really 100% certain about like the gameplay loop. Honestly, to me, the gameplay loop did not seem something I'd be interested in.
sure.
So I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. It'll be something I'll probably end up playing, but probably not something I'm gonna go out of my way to play right off the bat." And sure as shit didn't think that this would be potentially in conversation for my game of the year. That is for certain.
Yeah,
Walking away from this, and I know that this is very early on to say this, but like I do believe that there is a place in which this could potentially show up in the top 5.
yeah,
And really depending on like how this plays out with the upcoming episodes could potentially even make its way top 3. I don't know. It's going to be a tough, I think right now it's going to be tough to try to dislodge Ghost of Yote or Expedition 33 out of that number 1 spot for me.
sure.
But there's always a chance that it can. And I think that this game, like in terms of what we're getting from it, this is not what I was expecting.
Same.
It's gorgeous. I think that's the first thing to say. Like, it looks like if Probably the best way to describe it would maybe be like it looks kind of like
Invincible.
Invincible. So like it kind of looks like that, but the art I feel like looks even better than
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like the art is just like the design is great, and I think because it doesn't do what the old Telltale games did of like, oh, you're in your character's shoes, and now you have to go plod around very slowly with janky kind of tank controls
mm-hmm.
to like go around here to here. Like because of that, I think it actually paces itself better because it takes that mechanic out.
I agree.
And so the pacing's incredible. You don't get that like freedom of walking around, but I do think you do get the freedom of during conversations of being who you want to be. And there's
Yeah,
so many moments that like you can be this version of yourself just in normal conversations. It's not like going down a dialogue tree and selecting, like probing everyone for each individual dialogue option, then going to the next and doing that. Like you're just giving native conversations here and there. I can potentially see people coming to this and being like, it's a little too simple, like, and
sure.
depending on how impactful the story beats are, or like how impactful the choices are, that's probably a better way to say that. That may swing things. I haven't had the luxury just for the fact that we have to like we're pumping out trying to get this game played for embargo. I wasn't able to go through a second playthrough for myself, so I am curious with some of the things like how they do change, if there
Yeah,
are big changes. There very well could be, and I think that that's where this game is going to either make or break is at that last two episodes. I feel like if your decisions mean something,
yeah,
then it's not going to be one where Lee always dies at the end kind of scenario.
sure. I am very interested to see, because if I had one criticism for this game so far, because truly so far it is like glowing. Like I am so impressed with this game.
Right.
Like I totally agree. I think cutting things like walking around environments was such a smart call. Focus on what matters. Dialogue and then dispatching. And I think with this, I have not. So I've done 2 playthroughs so far of all 4 episodes, and I've noticed there being different forks in the road, and the like one fork will have a very different outcome than the other fork. But what I've not noticed yet is Blonde Blazer will remember this, and it coming back, and it being there have been like little things. There have been tiny little things in dialogue of someone saying something that is, or you saying something, and the character remembering, and then it coming back in like a small, not super impactful way. What I haven't seen yet is a choice that I made have sweeping consequences, but we've only seen half the story. So
Right.
it is something that I'm giving them grace on right now. And I totally agree. I think that can end up being a make or break thing, because also something that you were saying kind of got me thinking in terms of recommending this to people. Like for me, I would recommend this to anybody. I think the story, but it's because I'm so wrapped up in the story, like so much so that I've put 2 playthroughs in. If you're and the good thing about this game that we haven't said yet, but you might know if you're watching this review, every episode about an hour, and they aren't lying. Like it is, you can
Right.
really burn through an episode in about an hour, give or take, depending on how, like, if you pause it or whatever. But I could see, like, if you by the end of episode 2, you're just like, I just don't know that I really care about our protagonist, Robert Robertson, voiced by Aaron Paul. I don't know that I care about Invisigal, voiced by Laura Bailey. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, if you don't care about these characters, I don't know how far that you're gonna go with this game. But
Which
go ahead, jump in.
it may be worth stopping here to kind of give like a high overview of like what the game's story is. So
Yeah,
you play as Pat says, you play a character named Robert Robertson, who was the third. You're the third lineage member of a superhero. Like your great grandfather and father were both this particular superhero. You take the mantle over, and during an attempt of getting some sort of revenge, your suit ends up getting destroyed, and you end up quote unquote pseudo retiring from superhero life. At this point, Blonde Blazer, who is part of this like corporation that has like essentially it's like heroes for hire.
yeah,
She hires you on to become a dispatcher, essentially 911 for superheroes for this company. So you come in and you are then tasked with leading this ragtag group of supervillains, and basically trying to like see if you can stave off or like get these people to like working shape.
Yeah.
They kind of dangle a carrot in front of you, a couple things of like these are some benefits you can get out of this if you do a good job. And so you have like the Robert Robertson's driving force of like his selfish reason on why he's doing it. And then obviously over time he starts to build like connections with the team, and other characters in this universe. So you have your emotional connection, your selfish connection. That's where we're essentially at right now. High level,
Yeah.
would say. And I don't think we even get really past that point by the end of episode 4. So like we're all here,
For sure.
kind of living there.
And is this so far? Is this story working for you, Cayman?
I honestly, I think it's pretty simple. I think it's pretty simple, and it hits just some beats that feel familiar, but it's done in a way that like I really like these characters.
Me too.
I think the way that they're written is incredibly smart, and I feel like they do so well by dropping a little. And even if these are like well trodden story beats tropes and things, them dropping these little bits and bobs for you, like make these characters feel much more human than they are. And so I definitely think it's easier to latch on to them.
Yeah.
There are some characters, and you're gonna have some, and I'd love to say this because you have characters you actually like despise.
Mm-hmm.
Like I swear to fucking shit. There are a couple of these characters that I'm like, I hate you. And then there's characters and I'm like, if anything happens to this person, like
Yeah.
quitting video games forever.
Yeah.
So like,
And
we
to
get
achieve
the
that
best of
in
both.
2 hours, I think is so impressive. But I totally agree. I think, and the cast in this game is both like Hollywood A-lister, video game A-lister, and also like people that you wouldn't expect. Like Jacksepticeye is one of the characters, and I think he does a great job with Punch Up. But it's that kind of thing where I agree that there are the tropey characters. Phenomena Man is Superman. Like it's a twist on Superman, but he's Superman. But the writing is so tight, and I think
Yeah.
something that we've not addressed directly is this game is like so sexual. Like
Good Lord.
so much of the dialogue in this game. I was talking to somebody in our Discord, and within the company, I wasn't breaking embargo, and I was like, this game, it very much has the voice of like us in ways of like they're making cum jokes, and they're like
So many cum
they're
jokes.
just very like they're specifically Invisigal, her relationship with Robert, the main character, it's just like the banter between them, I think, is so fast and tight and funny that okay, go ahead.
It almost reminds me a little bit of the Marvelous Miss Maisel in
Yes.
terms of like it's such a quick. It's the conversations are quick.
Yeah.
Like they're in the way that they're like the banter is and the retorts that come through. It's fast and it's snappy, and I think because of that, like that's really fun. And I think one thing I don't think we also mentioned either, the music in this game.
Oh my
is,
God,
like,
the music
off
in this
fucking
game.
notch.
It's so
Absolutely
good.
insane. Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite characters so far?
In terms of characters, Invisigal and Chase,
God, I
think are
love
probably
Chase
my
so
top two.
much.
I have this like big soft spot for Invisigal. I think like her story up
Yeah.
to this point, by the end of episode 2, you really like. If you're not already like latched on to like her story by the end of episode 2, I don't think there's any solve. Like, I
Sure.
don't know if you'll enjoy this. I
Sure,
really don't.
sure,
Like,
sure.
if you aren't there, and I think that a lot of what the game cruxes on is you have to be able to connect to some degree to at least her, or maybe Blonde Blazer. I mean, it's if you don't get one or the other, then like it's gonna be a really tough time for you. But man, I really love Invisigal and how just like raunchy that she is. It's just
So
really
fucking
funny to
raunchy.
me. And then Chase, who is just the most foul-mouthed character since the detective in House of the Dead Overkill. Like this dude is dropping like every other word that's out of his mouth is fuck.
Yeah.
It is. He sounds just like me. Absolutely hysterical. What about you?
Yeah, I those two are my standouts as well, but I also really love, and I'll save some of this for next episode because I think we get a lot of this character's better stuff in episodes 3 and 4, but Waterboy. I think
Thank God, I'm glad you
Waterboy
said
is
that.
so
Yes.
fucking funny. We meet Waterboy in episode 2. He's like the pseudo janitor at SDN, which is the corporation that you're working for. And I don't know who voices Waterboy, but the choices that he is making with this character of just making him the
So good.
most uncomfortable person that has ever lived at every single moment is really, really fucking funny to me. Every time, like it,
I'm looking this up.
yeah,
I'm gonna see if I can find it. Because Waterboy is, to your point, so fucking funny.
he's
Like
so
his
funny.
character is just. It's also worth pointing out that Chase is voiced by Jeffrey Wright,
Yeah.
which makes it even funnier. That he's just over here, just like fucking dropping f bombs all the time.
That
All
very
right,
first
let's
conversation that
see.
you have with Chase in episode, I think it's 2, in episode 2 that you have with Chase, when you meet him, it's some of the funniest. I mean, not even just this one conversation between the 4 episodes, but I'm only going to focus on episodes 1 and 2. Some of the funniest writing that I've ever heard in a game, and then like also just some of there's one line in particular that I don't want to spoil that I had to pause the game because I was laughing so hard. I'll tell you off when we're done recording. But yeah, did you find Waterboy?
I did. It's the actor is Joel Haver, according to Google.
Oh, I don't know Joel.
Looking to see what he's been in, and he looks like he's, um, yeah, I don't think he's been in anything to be completely honest with you. It
Well,
looks like a
this
bunch
is
of
the
short
coming out
stuff.
party for Joel
Yeah, Joel
Haver's
Haver's gonna
Waterboy.
do fucking numbers in the games
I
industry
hope
just
so
after
because he's
this
so
one. I
fucking
do
funny.
too. The next Ben Star.
Joshua.
Jojo.
Let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. We've kind of touched on it a little
Yeah.
bit, but the act of dispatching. So as Cayman was saying earlier, you're this former hero, Robert Robertson. You were brought in to talk about or with lead this group of supervillains to bring some experience as a successful superhero that has had better days. And the actual gameplay, the moment to moment, other than the dialogue options, you're talking to Invisigal and you choose between 3 different options for the dialogue choice. You're sitting in front of the computer. Bottom of the screen has all of the different heroes that you can choose from. Crimes will come in. You'll decide who to send to go to that crime. Sometimes you can only send 1 or 2 or 3 heroes, and you kind of it always is like a what is the kind of balance here? How are you liking the gameplay, Cayman?
I like it. I don't think episode 1 does a very good job in the tutorial of explaining what it is.
Sure.
And I think that, and don't get me wrong, we're playing off of a beta build for the review. So, like, this could be different in the final build. I'm not certain. I would assume if there is any changes, hopefully they've probably maybe added something in to explain what each thing, like vigor and, all these things mean. Because they don't necessarily do a very good job of that.
So I figured
And
out they
so,
do. You just have to go look for it.
right. And that's one of those things where it's just like a complaint of mine of being like, when I found it on episode 2, because I was like, I have to pause the game. I have to find what am I doing?
Yeah.
Because I was like, barely. Are you part of the group that barely passed? Yes, you are. You suck at this. So that's me. And so after finding out what it did, it gets a lot easier, or not easier, but it gets a lot better, I think, for me once I knew what I was supposed to do. That being said, I got a perfect run on day 2.
Yeah, me
And
too.
it was like wild. It was so cool, getting it, like, because I felt like I was so bad the first time. But I love like sending people out. And what's cool though is that as things progress specifically over episode 2, you'll run and encounter scenarios in which some of the characters you're trying to dispatch will just be like, no,
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so as they're sending them out, and once they're completing jobs, they also get XP that you can use to put in stat boost, so that essentially what you're trying to do is cover a grid, and you're trying to select heroes to cover a portion of that grid. And so you are essentially trying to build a team out that at any given, like, that you can specifically handle missions with a certain character and have a lower failure rate. That's the goal. So XP goes to that. If your characters aren't being sent out, then they don't get XP. And so they become more useless. So you need to like really balance that instead of sending the same people over and over and over again. Because it's just like cooldown timers and things like that make it a little unhelpful. But I think ultimately, though, getting to learn that using the XP system and then the synergies portion of learning what characters work well with other characters, so you get like added bonuses and benefits by putting them in certain places or teaming them up on missions together is such a complex mechanic. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning was like, I just don't feel like we get enough of it.
Sure.
Because essentially, you get like a lunch shift and a night shift. And so like that's so you're really not getting a lot of these interactions. What I'm hoping is at the end of episode 8, I hope that they're like, all right, now opening up where you can just do this and
That'd be
just
fun.
work like shifts would be so much fun. I do this game. That mechanic, this game would be so fucking fun of like just work having that as just the sole gameplay mechanic. Just
Yeah.
fucking put me there and let me sim that out, you know?
I was worried at the end of episode 1, or toward the end of episode 1, when you do like the tutorial of dispatching. I was like, I see what they're doing here, but I have concerns. And then it wasn't until a little bit later in my playthrough that I'm like, oh, this is fun. And I totally agree. Like if there is a world in which they let us just fuck around and dispatch without there being like specific story tied to it,
Right.
I could totally see that. Like I would also wonder if this could work as like a mobile game spinoff, like just a version of just dispatching, or you know, not even only mobile, like a Switch or like any kind of portable situation.
Or just give me like the ability to pull like new characters in and have like a revolving team and like
Yeah,
pulling people and do, you know, kind of like Marvel Snap of like team ups and
yeah.
things. Like doing something like that, I think would be like super cool in the long run.
Because I'm also very curious if so in episode 1 there's people that we see in the tutorial that we don't see again in terms of like when you're playing, you know, very light spoilers. I'm curious to see if we get to see those kinds of characters more, or if the roster opens
Right.
up, because so far through 2 episodes it's a very limited roster. It's, you know, just your own team that you're dispatching, because it's you know, it's a corporate setting. You're in charge of a specific team of people, so it wouldn't necessarily make sense to branch outside of that team. So I do like that. But it would be nice to see if there's other folks that we can also start dispatching, or if people come in
Right.
for, you know, just a shift or two or whatever. Something else too that I really like about, I was really impressed with the dispatching, was how they would kind of just slowly bring about new gameplay elements. So things like running into an obstacle and having to solve a problem of the crime that's being dealt with. Like, making up this example, Malevola tripped and fell into a thing of quicksand. Here's 3 options. What do you think is the best option? And based on the choice that you choose, either you're going to succeed and reach a conclusion positively of that crime, fail, take some damage, it's going to negatively impact future things, or it might like have you re-roll something, or like, okay, now there's another choice that you have to do. Sometimes it's not just like a
Right.
binary, you win or you lose. I think that is a good way to like inject some change throughout, so it's not just always just like a game of timing, and some like you have to actually kind of like use the brain a little bit and figure out, okay,
Right.
is this okay, this is a smart character but not a strong character, so based on these choices to get out of this snafu, I probably want to go with the thing that uses their brain, because if I go with the thing that uses their brawn, they're probably going to fail, because it's essentially like a dice check. But it's not a dice check, it is just a skill check of like, okay, what is their skill number, what is the number that this obstacle requires. If you meet it or beat it, you lose, you win. If you don't get that high, then you lose. I really like that. And then also, what do you think about the hacking mechanic that we get a couple times in the first 2 episodes?
I think the hacking mechanic's fun. It does. So the hacking mechanic essentially, there's going to be times in which it'll be something like, oh, you. So one of the early examples is like, oh, my bidet won't stop shooting shit everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like, let me hack into the bidet, and essentially it's just like a grid in which you have to plot along the grid, and then you'll get to certain points where you have to hack. And hacking essentially is just putting in like directional combos. So like left, left, up, down, right, and just putting those in and then moving to the next. I don't think there's anything. They do start adding a little bit later in some more complexities to it, but ultimately, I think it's a nice distraction. From it essentially throws like in something that you are physically doing instead of just like clicking and waiting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you'll click and then have to wait and be like blood pressure's rising because like there's timers going off. You need your people back and rested and all these things where you can send them out again. But it's a lot of just like click, wait, click, wait. And so I do feel like the hacking does add in like an element to that. One thing I will say about the actual like core gameplay mechanic of like the dice roll system is that this is done with ad hoc and critical role as
Right.
part of the
Right.
Dungeons and Dragons group. So, and you can, I think part of it too, if you want to know just a little bit of like what humor this game can have, a little bit, Vox Machina on Amazon, the series like
Yeah.
is a little bit, so you can give you a little insight there, but I do feel like they do build in this like D&D dice roll mechanic into it. Hacking, I think, is probably the most like neutral ground gameplay mechanic of like something that everyone is familiar with. And I do say sometimes the RNG and like the other mechanic, like in the main play gameplay, can be a little unforgiving and can be very fucking annoying.
Sure.
And I will say too, what like the other thing I did run into, and once again, this very well could have just be because we're playing a beta version right now, is that my game did crash a couple times
Really?
during the gameplay. So like I was playing, everything was going fine, and then like new missions wouldn't pop up. It'd be like, okay, well, I don't think this is working correctly, or my like inputs would stop working, so I had to be like, all right, got to exit out, reload.
Sure.
And then I will say the couple things that I did notice during that is that it auto saves for you. The problem with the autosave function is there's no skip function.
Yeah.
And so there was a couple few times where I'm like I had to sit and wait like a few minutes before I could get to like the gameplay of like I'm doing my shift, my day shift or night shift, whatever. Like I'm doing my shift, so I need to like get in and like do this. However, I'm gonna have to wait through a few minutes of like dialogue that I've already done, even though there's no choices here. Like that was a little, so these are just little things that I think like can be cleaned up.
Yeah, for sure.
Potentially already will be. Like while you're listening to this or watching this video, you're like, what are you talking about? That's baked in. You just have to hit this button. That button doesn't exist right now. So just be aware of that. And if it doesn't exist when it is, then that's definitely something. Developers, please listen to me.
Yeah, I
Please add
would
that mechanic.
for future playthroughs or reloading, I would love the ability to skip dialogue. Because there was a time I was playing episode 4. I won't talk about what I was doing, but I was in a dispatch and I was doing a hacking thing, and it was a kind of a high stress one, which we'll talk about next episode. And I got it with like less than 5 seconds left. Like that the health bar was about to run out, and it was like, oh good, I did the loading thing, I did it, and then it just never populated again. Like it was just stuck, and I was like, fuck. I go to pause, and it's like last time saved 9 minutes ago. I'm like,
Yep.
9 minutes, not a lot of time, but I basically had to do that entire shift again because it was almost the entirety of the
Right.
shift, which was frustrating.
I know you'd mentioned before, but just to wrap back around, your score, if you could rate it right now,
Yeah.
like what would you, if you could tell the audience, for those that are going to be like, all right, well, I don't want you to spoil it for me, but I'm still on the fence. If you out of 10, like where would you think like score would be for you?
For episodes 1 and 2 specifically, which is what the public can play as of today, I would say
As of today.
like an 8. Wrapping in episodes 3 and 4, I would bump it up to 8.5, because I think it goes places with episodes 3 and 4, which for the person watching this, they're gonna have to wait a week for episodes 3 and 4. But I think episodes 1 and 2 do a really good job of laying the groundwork, introducing us to this world, introducing us to dispatching, introducing us to these characters, the general like arc that we're going to be going through with as Robert Robertson. I think it does it all very, very well, and I think it's like a very strong 8. Like I even consider doing episodes 1 and 2 maybe at an 8.5 even. It's just that I agree with you though, of like those first two episodes, they leave a little bit to be desired from the gameplay side because they're introducing so many things and they're only an hour each. So yeah, I'm going to say a very strong 8 for episodes 1 and 2. What do you think?
In my humble opinion, Patrick,
Yeah.
I think episodes 1 and 2 of Dispatch solid 8.5.
Okay.
While I do have some complaints, and I do
8.52.
feel like
I agree.
it is a little lower on the gameplay side in terms of like the hook gameplay mechanic. I think what they do setting the story up and getting you going and getting your emotions running and getting you baked in and built, like, bought into what we're doing here. I definitely think an 8.5, and I cannot wait to talk about episodes 3 and 4 because that number is only getting higher, baby.
Yeah, I agree. A5. Good shit. I think we should end it here. I don't want to go too deep into spoiler stuff. Also, because as I mentioned at the top of the episode, over on JK Games on Monday, they're going to be doing a full spoiler discussion of episodes 1 and 2, so they can talk about all the big decisions and whatnot. Any final thoughts, Cayman, before we send them on their way?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you're out there right now and you're still for some reason on the fence, you just need one last kick in the pants. I don't know how much this costs, but whatever it costs,
Let me see.
it's gonna be worth. It's gonna be worth it. I think the thing is we always complain a lot. I feel like about people are like, oh, everything's the same. We're all just all getting the same games over and over and over again. This is one of those instances where we get something that, well, yes, Telltale type games aren't new by any means. This is a game that just feels fresh. It feels different. And I think because of that, I think it's worth giving it a shot. Uh, Especially if you like the Telltale type games, but even if you don't, I think the gameplay loop is good enough that's going to keep people on, even if they're not as drawn to the story. So I definitely say just like give it a shot. 100% give it a shot.
I agree. $29.99 is the cost, and I think that is
Feels good.
Totally fair. Yeah, I think that's a great price for this game, having played the first 4 episodes. And I agree. I think for this, I'm so glad that this game made it this year. I hope that it doesn't end up becoming victim to some of the greatest games that have ever come out this year. Like you were saying earlier, it might be tough for it to get into your top 2 or 3 because of Yote and because of Expedition 33. For me, it's because of Hades 2 and Blueprints. Where like both of those games for me are like all-timers, especially Hades 2, that I don't know that Dispatch will make it to the top spot. But I think it has a very strong chance to be in that top 5, just like you said. And I think I'm so surprised and excited for that AdHoc just knocked it out of the park with Dispatch. And I can't wait to talk about episodes 3 and 4 and to play the rest of this video game. And I think I absolutely strongly recommend, if this looks like a game that you're going to like, you're probably going to really like it. We're Drop In, Drop Out. I'm the host, Patrick. Next to me, my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. If you don't know who we are a group of gamers that have all sorts of hands in different pies of content creation. We have the JK Games podcast on Mondays, which is a video game book club. We have the Spotlight Games podcast on Tuesdays, which is breaking down the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. We talk about what we're playing there and the news of the week in gaming. And then Thursday nights, we have the Drop In, Drop Out podcast where all of us come together. We have a few other folks. We have a video essayist. We have a streamer. We have we as I said, hands and pies. But we all come together and talk about various video game shit. We review games, we preview games, and we have a good time. We recently had a franchise battle about horror games to decide the best horror franchise. We have fun here at Drop In, Drop Out. So if you've liked this discussion, if you're going to pick up Dispatch, leave a comment, let us know. But also, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. We would appreciate it. We also have a Discord if you go to dropindropoutpod.com with a lot of very nice people, very nice gamers. So we're always looking for new folks and welcoming to new people. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Next week, we will have episode 3 and 4 breakdown review of Dispatch, and tomorrow night as of release. So Wednesday, the 22nd, 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/dropindropoutpod, I will be streaming episodes 1 and 2. So until then,